Hello, everyone. This is Miss Jennings. I am in my living room. I'm going to read you the next chapters of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, starting with chapter 16. If you remember, all of the kids and their parents, including Charlie and his grandfather, Grandpa Joe, were already inside of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, or the Chocolate Factory, Willy Wonka's. And they start asking about these little guys that were like little people that were there helping him. All right, so this is chapter 16, and it's called the Oompa Loompas. Oompa Loompas, everyone said at once. Oompa Loompas? Imported direct from Loopaland, said Mr. Wonka proudly. There's no such place, said Mr. Salt. Excuse me, dear lady, but Mr. Wonka, cried Mrs. Salt, I'm a teacher of geography. Then you'll know all about it, said Mr. Wonka, and oh, what a terrible country it is. Nothing but thick jungles infested by the most dangerous beast in the entire world. Hornswogglers and snozwaggers and those terrible wicked wangdoodles. A wangdoodle would eat 10 Oompa Loompas for breakfast and come galloping back for a second helping. When I went out there, I found the little Oompa Loompas living in tree houses. They had to live in tree houses to escape from all those weird creatures, and they were practically starving to death. They were living on green caterpillars, and the caterpillars tasted revolting. And the Oompa Loompas spent every moment of their days climbing through the tree tops, looking for other things to mash up with the caterpillars to make them taste better. Red beetles, for instance, and eucalyptus leaves, and the bark of the bong bong tree, all of them beastly, but not quite so beastly as the caterpillars. Poor little Oompa Loompas, the one food they longed to have more than anything else was the cacao bean. That's the chocolate bean. But they couldn't get it. And Oompa Loompa was lucky if he found 3 or 4 cacao beans, but oh, how they craved them. They used to dream about cacao beans all night and talk about them all day. You only had to mention the word cacao to an Oompa Loompa and he would start dribbling at the mouth. The cacao bean, Mr. Wonka continued, which grows in the cacao tree, happens to be the thing from which all chocolate is made. You cannot make chocolate without the cacao bean. The cacao bean is chocolate. I myself use billions of cacao beans every week in this factory. And so, my dear children, as soon as I discovered that the Oompa Loompas were crazy for this particular food, I climbed up to their treehouse village and poked my head in through the door of the treehouse belonging to the leader of the tribe. The poor little fellow, looking thin and starved, was sitting there trying to eat a bowl full of mashed up green caterpillars without being sick. Look here, I said, speaking not in English, of course, but in Oompa Loompish. Look here, if you and all your people will come back to my country and live in my factory, you can have all the cacao beans you want. I've got mountains of them in my storehouses. You can have cacao beans for every meal. You can gorge yourself silly on them. I'll even pay your wages in cacao beans if you wish. You really mean it? Asked the Oompa Loompas leader, leaping up from his chair. Of course I mean it, I said. And you can have chocolate as well. Chocolate tastes so much better than cacao beans because it's got milk and sugar added. The little man gave a great whoop of joy and threw his bowl of mashed caterpillars right out the treehouse window. It's a deal, he said. Come on, let's go. So I shipped them all over here, every man, woman, and child in the Oompa Loompa tribe. It was easy. I smuggled them over in a large packing cases with holes in them, so they got there safely. They are wonderful workers, and they all speak English now. They love dancing and music. There's always making up songs. I expect you will hear a good deal of singing today from time to time. I must warn you, though, they are rather mischievous. They like little jokes. They still wear the same kind of clothes they wore in the jungle. They insist upon that. The men, as you can see for yourselves across the river, wear only deerskins. The women wear leaves, and the children wear nothing at all. The women use fresh leaves every day. Daddy, shouted Veruca Salt, the girl who got everything she wanted. Daddy, I want an Oompa Loompa. I want you to get me an Oompa Loompa. I want an Oompa Loompa right away. I want to take it home with me. Now, my pet, her father said to her, we mustn't interrupt Mr. Wonka. But I want an Oompa Loompa, cried Veruca. All right, Veruca, all right, but I can't get it for you this second. Please be patient. I'll see you have one before the day is out. Augustus, shouted Mrs. Gloop. Augustus, sweetheart, I don't think you had better do that. Augustus Gloop, as you might have guessed, had quietly sneaked down to the edge of the river, and he was now kneeling on the riverbank, scooping hot melted chocolate into his mouth as fast as he could. Chapter 17. Augustus Gloop goes up the pipe. Oh. When Mr. Wonka turned around and saw what Augustus Gloop was doing, he cried out, "Oh no, please, Augustus, please. I beg of you not to do that. My chocolate must be untouched by human hands." "Augustus," called out Mr. Gloop, "didn't you hear what the man said? Come away from that river at once." "This stuff is terrific," said Augustus, taking not the slightest notice of anyone around him. "Oh boy, I need a bucket to drink it properly." "Augustus," cried Mr. Wonka, hopping up and down and wagging his stick in the air, "you must come away. You are dirtying my chocolate." "Augustus," cried Mrs. Gloop. "Augustus," cried Mr. Gloop. But Augustus was deaf to everything except the call of his enormous stomach. He was now lying full length on the ground with his head far out over the river, lapping up the chocolate like a dog. "Augustus," shouted Mrs. Gloop, "you'll be giving that nasty cold of yours to about 1,000,000 people all over the country." "Be careful, Augustus," shouted Mr. Gloop. "You're leaning too far out." Mr. Gloop was absolutely right, for suddenly there was a shriek and then a splash. Into the river went Augustus Gloop, and in 1 second he had disappeared under the brown surface. "Save him!" screamed Mrs. Gloop, going white in the face and waving her umbrella. "He'll drown! He can't swim! Save him! Save him!" "Good heavens, woman," said Mr. Gloop, "I'm not diving in there. I've got my best suit on." Augustus Gloop's face came up again the surface, painted brown with chocolate. "Help, help, help! Fish me out!" "Don't just stand there," Mrs. Gloop screamed at Mr. Gloop. "Do something." "I am doing something," Mr. Gloop said, who was now taking off his jacket and getting ready to dive into the chocolate. But while he was doing this, the wretched boy was being sucked closer and closer toward the mouth of one of the great pipes that was dangling down into the river. Then all at once the powerful suction took hold of him completely, and he was pulled under the surface and then into the mouth of the pipe. The crowd on the riverbank waited breathlessly to see where he would come out. "There he goes," somebody shouted, pointing upwards, and sure enough, because the pipe was made of glass, Augustus Gloop could be clearly seen shooting upside it, head first like a torpedo. "Help! Murder! Police!" screamed Mrs. Gloop. "Augustus, come back at once. Where are you going?" "It's a wonder to me," said Mr. Gloop, "how the pipe is big enough for him to go through it." "It isn't big enough," said Charlie Bucket. "Oh, dear, look, he's slowing down." "So he is," said Grandpa Joe. "He's going to get stuck," said Charlie. "I think he is." "But golly, he has been stuck," said Charlie. "It's his stomach that's done it. He's blocked the whole pipe." "Smash the pipe!" yelled Mrs. Gloop, still waving her umbrella. "Augustus, come out of there at once." The watchers below could see the chocolate swishing around the boy in the pipe, and they could see it building up behind him in a solid mass, pushing him against the blockage. The pressure was terrific. Something had to give. Something did give, and something was Augustus. Whoop! Up he shot again like a bullet in the barrel of a gun. "He's disappeared!" yelled Mrs. Gloop. "Where did that pipe go? Call the fire brigade." "Keep calm," cried Mr. Wonka. "Keep calm, my dear lady. Keep calm. There is no danger. No danger whatsoever. Augustus has gone on a little journey, that's all. A most interesting little journey, but he'll come out of it just fine. Wait and see." "How can he possibly come out of this just fine?" I have my Sonic. "How could he possibly be fine?" "He'll be made into marshmallows in 5 seconds." "Impossible," Mr. Wonka said. "Unthinkable. Inconceivable. He would never be made into marshmallows." "And why not, may I ask?" said Mrs. Gloop. "Because the pipe doesn't go to the marshmallow room. It doesn't go anywhere near it. That pipe, the one Augustus went up, happens to be led directly to the room where I make the most delicious kind of strawberry flavored coated fudge." "Then he made it into a piece of fudge?" My poor Augustus! They'll be selling him by pound all over the country tomorrow morning." "I know I'm right. It's beyond a joke." "Mr. Wonka doesn't seem to think so," cried Mrs. Gloop. "Just look at him. He's laughing his head off. How dare you laugh when my boy's just gone up to the pipe, you monster?" she shrieked, pointing her umbrella at Mr. Wonka as though she were going to run him down with her umbrella. "You think this is a joke, do you? You think that sucking my boy up into a fudge room like that is the great big colossal joke?" "He'll be perfectly safe," said Mr. Wonka, giggling slightly. "He'll be chocolate fudge." "No, he won't. He won't. He will not be made into fudge, I promise." "I don't even want to think about it," cried Mrs. Gloop. "Nor do I," said Mr. Wonka. "And I do promise you, madam, that your darling boy is perfectly safe." "If he's perfectly safe, then where is he?" Mr. Wonka turned around and clicked his fingers sharply, click, 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 3 times immediately, and Oompa Loompa appeared as if from nowhere, and stood beside him. The Oompa Loompa bowed and smiled, showing beautiful white teeth. His skin was rosy white, his long hair was golden brown, and the top of his head came just above the height of Mr. Wonka's knee. He wore the usual deer skin slung over his shoulder. "Now listen to me," said Mr. Wonka, looking down at the tiny man. "I want you to take Mr. and Mrs. Gloop up to the fudge room and help them to find their son Augustus. He's just gone up the pipe." The Oompa Loompa took one look at Mrs. Gloop and exploded into peals of laughter. "Oh, do be quiet," said Mr. Wonka. "Control yourself. Pull yourself together. Mrs. Goop doesn't think this is funny at all." "Oh, do be quiet." "You can say that again," said Mrs. Goop. "Go straight to the fudge room," Mr. Wonka said to the Oompa Loompa, "and then when you get there, take a long stick and start poking around inside the big chocolate mixing barrel. I'm almost certain you'll find him there. But you better look sharp. You'll have to hurry. If you leave him in the chocolate mixing barrel too long, he's liable to get poured out in the fudge boiler, and that really would be a disaster, wouldn't it? My fudge would become quite uneatable." Mrs. Gloop let out a shriek of fury. "I'm joking," said Mr. Wonka, giggling madly behind his beard. "I didn't mean it. Forgive me. I'm sorry. Goodbye, Mrs. Gloop. Goodbye, Mr. Gloop. Goodbye. I'll see you later." As Mr. and Mrs. Gloop and their tiny escort hurried away, the 5 Oompa Loompas on the far side of the river suddenly began hopping and dancing about and beating wildly to a number of very small drums. "Augustus Gloop," they chanted. "Augustus Gloop," they chanted. "Augustus Gloop, Augustus Gloop, Augustus Gloop," they chanted. "I told you that they love singing," cried Mr. Wonka. "Aren't they delightful? Aren't they charming? But you mustn't believe a word they said. It's all nonsense, every bit of it." "Are the Oompa Loompas really joking, Grandpa?" asked Charlie. "Of course they're joking," answered Grandpa Joe. "They must be joking." Chapter 18. It's titled Down the Chocolate River. "Off we go," cried Mr. Wonka. "Hurry up, everybody. Follow me to the next room. And please don't worry about Augustus. He's bound to come out in the wash. They always do. We shall have to make the next part of the journey be by boat. Here she comes. Look." A steamy mist was rising up now from the great swarm chocolate river, and out of the mist there appeared suddenly a most fantastic pink boat. It was a large open rowboat with a tall front and a tall back, like a Viking boat. And it was such a shining, sparkling, glistening pink color that the whole thing looked as though it were made of bright pink glass. There were so many oars on either side of it, and as the boat came closer, the watchers on the riverbank could see that the oars were also being pulled by masses of Oompa Loompas, at least 10 of them to each oar. "This is my private yacht," cried Mr. Wonka, beaming with pleasure. "I made her by hollowing out an enormous boiled sweet. Isn't she beautiful? See how she comes cutting through the river." The gleaming pink boiled sweet boat glided up to the riverbank. 100 Oompa Loompas rested on their oars and stared up at them. Then suddenly, for some reason best known to themselves, they all burst into shrieks of laughter. "What's so funny?" asked Violet Beauregarde. "Oh, don't worry about them," cried Mr. Wonka. "They're always laughing. They think everything's a joke. Come on in. Let's go to the boat. Come on, everyone. Come on, hurry up." As soon as everyone was safely in, the Oompa Loompas pushed the boat away from the bank and began to row swiftly down the river. "Hey there, Mike Teavee," shouted Mr. Wonka. "Please do not lick the boat with your tongue. It'll make it sticky." But here they are in the boat. Ah, so funny. And so Mike Teavee reaches down and starts licking the boat. Daddy, said Veruca Salt, I want a boat like this. I want you to buy me a big pink boiled sweet boat, exactly like Mr. Wonka's. And I want lots of Oompa Loompas to row me about. And I want a chocolate river. And she wants a good kick in the pants, whispered Grandpa Joe to Charlie. The old man was sitting in the back of the boat, and little Charlie Bucket was right beside him. Charlie was holding on tightly onto the boat and to Grandma's bony old hand. He was a whirl of excitement. Everything that he had seen so far, the great chocolate river, the waterfall, the huge pipes, the candy meadows, the Oompa Loompas, the beautiful pink boat, and most of all, Mr. Willy Wonka himself, had been so astonishing that he began to wonder whether there could possibly be any more astonishments left. Where were they going now? What were they going to see? And what in the world was going to happen in the next room? Isn't it marvelous? Said Grandpa Joe, grinning at Charlie. Charlie nodded and smiled up at the old man. Suddenly, Mr. Wonka, who was sitting on Charlie's other side, reached down into the bottom of the boat, picked up a large mug, dipped it in the river, filled it with chocolate, and handed it to Charlie. Drink this, he said. It'll do you good. You look starved to death. Then Mr. Wonka filled a second mug and gave it to Grandpa Joe. You too. You look like a skeleton. What's the matter? Hasn't there been anything to eat at your house lately? Not much, said Grandpa Joe. Charlie put the mug to his lips, and the rich, warm, creamy chocolate ran down his throat into his empty stomach. His whole body from head to toe began to tingle with pleasure, and a feeling of intense happiness spread over him. You like it? Mr. Wonka said. Oh, it's wonderful, Charlie said. The creamiest, loveliest chocolate I've ever tasted, said Grandpa Joe. That's because it's been mixed by waterfall, Mr. Wonka told him. The boat sped down the river. The river was getting narrower. There was some kind of dark tunnel ahead, a great round tunnel that looked like an enormous pipe, and the river was running right into the tunnel, and so was the boat. Row on, shouted Mr. Wonka, jumping up and waving his stick in the air. Full speed ahead. And with the Oompa Loompas rowing faster than ever, the boat shot into the pitch-dark tunnel, and all that passengers screamed with excitement. How can they see where they're going? Shrieked Violet. There's no way of knowing where they're going, cried Mr. Wonka, hooting with laughter. He's gone off his rocker, shouted one of the fathers, aghast, and other parents joined the chorus of frightened shouting. He's crazy. He's dotty. He's goofy. He's buggy. No, he's not, said Grandpa Joe. Switch on the lights, shouted Mr. Wonka, and suddenly on came the lights, and the whole tunnel was brilliantly lit up, and Charlie could see that they were indeed inside a gigantic pipe. And the great upward curving walls of the pipe were pure white and spotlessly clean. The river of chocolate was flowing very fast inside the pipe, and the Oompa Loompas were all rowing like crazy, and the boat was rocketing along the furious pace. Mr. Wonka was jumping up and down the back of the boat and calling to the rowers to row faster and faster. Look, Grandpa, cried Charlie. There's a door in the wall. It was a green door. It was set into the wall of the tunnel, just above the level of the river. As they flashed past it, there was just enough time to read the writing on the door. Storeroom number 54. It said all the creams: dairy cream, whipped cream, violet cream, coffee cream, pineapple cream, vanilla cream, and hair cream. Hair cream? Cried Mike Teavee. You don't use hair cream? Right on. Row on, shouted Mr. Wonka. There's no time to answer these silly questions. They streaked past a black door, storeroom number 71. In it said whips, all shapes and sizes. Whips? Cried Veruca Salt. What on earth do you use whips for? For the whipping cream, of course. How can you whip cream without whips? Whipped cream isn't whipped cream at all unless it's been whipped with whips, just as a poached egg isn't a poached egg unless it's been stolen from the woods in the dead of the night. Row on, please. They passed a yellow door in which it said storeroom number 77. All the beans, cacao beans, coffee beans, jelly beans, and has-beans. Has-beans? Cried Violet Beauregard. You're one yourself, said Mr. Wonka. There's no time for arguing. Press on, press on. But 5 seconds later, when a bright red door came to sight, he suddenly waved his gold-topped cane in the air and shouted, Stop the boat! Okay, so we're going to stop here, and we'll pick up with 19 the next time. Thank you for listening.